They are the ruler of all of Pareena, entitled by birth to govern all dragons of the Empire. Hi, I'm your host Heatwave, and in today's little episode, I'll be exploring the position of the Imperator. File faster, servant. Yes, your highness. I don't like this game, Starfish. An empress is supposed to be fair, elegant, and a good leader. I hear complaining, but not talent filing. I'm only playing with you because it's your hatching day. Oh, plus I have the crown. You got that out of the toy box. What? No, Alligator likes it. Right, Alligator? Of course he would agree with you. He likes you. No, I don't. Come on. I'm not stupid. Now, don't interrupt my Mudwing. He listens to his Empress. Unlike you, Branch. Welcome back to the Wings of Fire spin-off series, Empire of Pareena. In today's little episode, I'll be covering the Imperator, the role, its history, how a dragon becomes the Imperator, but to save time, I'll be covering the different Imperators in a different episode, which is more looking into the historical side. In this episode, I just want to focus on the role of the Imperator. So first, the term Imperator refers to a gender-neutral title. The active Imperator will hold a title befitting male or female, so Emperor or Empress. The Imperator is the single most important dragon in Pareena. They are the living figurehead of unification, the leader of the empire. While their political powers are limited, they are the physical representation of what it means to be a dragon, to uphold unity and the four principles. They are an inspiration to all. So how did the Imperator come to be? Well, if you've been following along the story so far, then you'll know that the former Sea-Wing Princess, Ocean, went on to become the very first Empress. But how was that? At the end of the War of Unification, after the tyrant of the Mojave had been toppled from his throne, and his armies opposing Ocean's loyalists laid down their arms and surrendered, the new groundwork began to be laid out about the forming of a single government. No more monarchies, as they have failed. The now former Sandwing Prince Nevada worked on creating the new parliamentary government where dragons would vote for a representative of their society, occupation, or living. They would be responsible for delivering change to that aspect of life in this new Pareena. But they too needed a leader, a dragon with the charm and charisma and the strength of character to moderate and adjust the parliament to better all of Pareena. Nevada nominated Ocean for the position. Her experience in battle, her leadership values, made her a fitting candidate for the position, but it wasn't his choice in the end. In the lower valley, upon the site of what would be now the Imperial Palace, gathered all the leaders of the winglets. The Sky Wings, the Ice Wings, the Sea Wings, the Mud Wings, their Rain Wing allies, and Nevada, acting as the intermediate leader of the Sand Wings, put forward a vote. This vote was to unify the winglets under a collective and to install a grand leader. Each of the winglet monarchies were able to keep their power and act as regional governments that answer to the new Imperator. Whether it was out of fear or respect, they voted for Ocean. I mean, she toppled one of the most dangerous dragons in known history at the time, and the capture and later execution of the tyrant showed that anyone who stepped out of line or had a new idea would surely meet the same fate as the tyrant and his legions. So there, as the first Empress, Ocean set about, with the help of Nevada, in creating the groundwork of the new empire. Nevada decreed that only the first hatched dragonet, of each Imperator shall sit the throne. This led to most Imperators having dragonets later in their life. It's also forbidden for a non-hybrid to sit the throne. The Imperator is the living embodiment of the unification of dragons, so it makes sense for the Imperator to be a hybrid, the symbol of two winglets coming together in unity. Every Imperator is in the sense born into the role. As a dragonet, whether or not they are in line to become the Imperator, they will still train for the role. They will be privately tutored in all forms of government, in speaking, learning history, and many of the roles of the parliamentary government and its departments. This will be taught by the Imperator currently, or by actual experience on the parliamentary floor. It's expected that future Imperators know exactly what their role is, how the government works, and how they can better further the empire. Dragonets of the Imperator are very, very spoiled, living quite lavish lifestyles. Their chambers are filled with trinkets and toys. Now, there are only 3 ways an Imperator can be removed and replaced by a new Imperator. The first is they simply die of natural causes, like old age. The second is that they willingly step down from their position, allowing their dragonet to take up the position of Imperator. And thirdly, if there is any sign of corruption, they will be removed by the custodii. But this law has never, ever, ever been used. But Heatwave, I hear you say, what if there is no longer a firstborn dragonet? Well, that falls to the next dragonet in line. But if the firstborn had a dragonet before their demise, then that dragonet becomes the new Imperator, regardless of if they had any other siblings that were above them. Any dragonet that doesn't become Imperator typically takes up a position in government or in the military. But then I hear you say, Heatwave, what if there is no dragonets to take the throne? That will never happen. The role and responsibilities of the Imperator are small in size, but are just as important. In the Imperial parliamentary government, the Imperator acts as a moderator of the floor, keeping the parliament's agendas on track. They also act as tiebreakers on votes within Parliament, the only time they're allowed to give their opinion. But that's not the only role the Imperator has inside the government chamber. The Imperator can just as well make suggestions on the parliamentary floor. Of course, it needs a unanimous vote to succeed, as usual. The Imperator is also responsible for making sure the government is actually making a difference in the empire. Every dragon, every dragonet, or soon-to-be hatched dragonet, is under their care, and the rule of the Imperator, the most important responsibility, is to make sure their government's actions, spending, and redirection is befitting the wider empire, not just the few companies and individuals who support the government. It's the Imperator who upholds the 4 principles and the 14 laws of the empire, for that is their true responsibility. Now, I said I'll leave the Imperator's Tower to this episode, so it was originally built modelling after the Black Obelisk in Shady Sands. The tower holds the office space of the Imperator, their personal chambers with enough room for a mate, the chambers of any dragonets the Imperator may have, and at the bottom is the personal office of the Imperator's apothecary. To access the tower, it's down the hall from the chamber behind the domicile. In the center of the Imperial Palace, a pathway leads to a spiral of ramps leading up and down, with which each chamber is... To access the tower, one needs to head through the interconnecting hall behind the domicile in the primary Imperial Palace. A pathway leads to a spiral of ramps leading up and down, which every chamber is adjacent and locked in. Access to this part of the palace is heavily guarded and patrolled by the most senior members of the Custodii, and, of course, the Lord Custodii, who is forever bound to the Imperator. The Imperator's office has a single large window facing the northern wall, but it has two larger windows facing the southern walls. It is in here where the Imperator's desk lies, and all of the myriad of bookshelves and other trinkets and pieces of knowledge that they either collect or have to further their ability to govern. Very rarely will the Imperator use their office space because they spend most of the time in Parliamentary Council, but it is there for them to retire to either during dusk or dawn to review many of the day's findings and parliamentary ongoings. This is located in the middle of the tower. Below that is the Dragonet Chambers, a large room that's shared by all dragonets that an Imperator may have. It's lavishly decorated with toys, trinkets, soft items, and whatever the dragonets may need, and sometimes want. The ceiling is high enough to allow the dragonets to practice flying while indoors. Above all of it, with an expansive view, is the personal chambers of the Imperator. It too is lavishly filled, includes a large and plentiful sleeping spot, along with a wardrobe, and a personal wash chamber. Thanks for watching. Please remember to leave a comment, like, or subscribe to help the algorithm present this content to a wider audience. And don't forget the channel goals with special rewards. This is Heatwave, signing off.